Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? We are here today in the old Senate chamber, and this location is significant. Nearly 40 years ago, this is the spot where Governor Bruce Babbitt signed the Groundwater Management Act, one of the most historic water achievements in Arizona's history. And today is also a historic day. Just moments ago, Arizona passed the Drought Contingency Plan. This is legislation to conserve more water in Lake Mead and help reduce the risk of harmful cutbacks in the future. Getting here took a lot of hard work and was not guaranteed. Today's passage is the culmination of years of discussion and engagement among many diverse stakeholders: rural, urban, agriculture, industry, tribal communities, nonprofits, cities, and more. We did it by bringing everyone to the table, putting party labels aside and placing Arizona first. The Drought Contingency Plan is an historic bipartisan achievement, and I want to thank all the stakeholders for their work. Thank you. I especially want to thank Senate President Karen Fann, Speaker of the House Rusty Bowers, leaders Charlene Fernandez and David Bradley, ADWR Director Tom Buchatsky, CAP General Manager Ted Cook, and Kirk Adams. To Senators Otondo and Kerr, Representatives Griffin, Gobladon, Engel, Cook, and Cobb, this would not have gotten done without your leadership and participation in the steering committee. I want to thank all of you for your sincere efforts to get this done. Lastly, thank you to all DCP steering committee members and everyone who worked to make this day possible. When we met last Saturday afternoon as leaders to finalize the deal, Senator Bradley said something very wise. This isn't the end, it's the end of the beginning. And it's true. There's a lot more work to be done to ensure that Arizona is prepared for a drier water future. That's why after we sign this legislation, I will sign a new executive order. It represents another step in our effort to focus on conservation, and that's what's needed in the future. In the discussions that lay ahead, let's look to the Drought Contingency Plan as a model. Working together with a common goal in mind, there's no limit to what we can achieve. And today proves it. Thank you all. Do this, hold it, take a grab at that. Go ahead and send that one. Go ahead. You grab that one. Hold it up.
Howie always jumps the gun.
Well, I'm afraid of people wandering off.
Yes.
Governor, there was a lot of talk during the debate, during caucus, about conservation, farming, cotton, the cotton, the desert, for Representative Kavanaugh, things like that. Tell us exactly what you're planning to do to actually conserve water versus we're going to keep studying.
Well, I'm going to do a lot of what we did around the drought contingency plan. We went to all the constituencies and brought them together. I was able to mention Kirk Adams in my comments, and he spent a lot of last year getting this legislation to what we were calling during Super Bowl week to the red zone. And I know it's this team, my staff, the leaders, and legislators and policy makers behind me that then brought this into the end zone so that we can celebrate this today. But we did have a discussion, and it was something that was important to leaders Fernandez and to really Bradley, as well as Fan and Bowers, that a culture of conservation, that people realize how good Arizona is at this already, but where's there room for improvement? So to speak specifically and exactly what the next step is going to look like in Arizona's water future would be irresponsible, because there's a lot of good ideas with the people behind me and with agriculture and industry and our tribal nations that we want to bring to the table. What we don't want to do is, like I said, this is a historic day. The last day we had a day this big in Arizona was nearly 40 years ago with the Groundwater Management Act. We're not going to wait 40 years for the next thing that's going to happen on water. We're going to continue it in this legislative session in terms of discussion and actions. Yes, please.
There's a notice published in the Federal Register tomorrow from the Commissioner soliciting input because IID isn't finished. What was Arizona plan to give as their input? Not what to do with the baseline DCP.
Well, we had a deadline from the federal government that we were working with on this drought contingency plan. As the federal government really deals with the 19-year drought that the western United States is facing, we'll continue to have comments as that's what they are focused on. But the challenge and task before us right now, and it was no easy task, was the drought contingency plan. But we'll continue to provide thoughtful comment. The objective of this deadline was for Arizona to keep charge of its water future and to not cede that to comment and the federal government, and that's what was accomplished today.
Governor Ducey, some lawmakers made comments about climate change as they were on the floor discussing the DCP bill. How much will talk of climate change affect these water negotiations going forward?
Well, I think if you look at some of the comments as people came to conclusion or explained their vote around the drought contingency plan, it's certainly something that's important to the policymakers behind us. It's certainly something that will become part of this discussion. I'm very hopeful for a wet winter this winter and next winter, but I also think we have to plan ahead because we are seeing changing weather patterns, and that's the responsible thing to do.
Governor, a lot of the cuts in this phase sort of fell on farmers. Would you expect the next phase of conservation to fall on a larger number of people live in cities facing a cut in their water use?
So I think it's a fair question. I think it's important also to realize that the state of Arizona uses less water today than it did in 1957 when Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. Even though our population has grown 6 million, our economy has grown 19 times. 70% of the water that's consumed in the state is used by agriculture, and we're very proud of the agriculture background and industry that we have inside our state. And I'm proud of all the stakeholders that came to the table and their willingness to give and do some things that words we don't often use in politics these days, like compromise and collaborate. As the state continues to grow, though, that does provide challenges. But this is a much preferable problem to have than people on a mass exodus outside of the state of Arizona. So we're in a good position. Our budget is solid, our economy is growing, and we're going to think long-term this session.
Thank you, Governor, before we get a hard deadline, we're sorry. Before you run off, Governor,
Okay.
some of the same people behind you also just sent you a little bill about tax conformity and a 0.11 percentage point tax cut. Is that, are you sitting here signing that, Governor?
Today is about water. And we celebrate this. Well done. Well done. You know. Well done. Thank you. Excellent leadership. Your accomplishments. Great job. Where's Ted?
Good job.
Ted, great
Was that your
job.
first signing?
Governor, thank you. Always.
The first
Appreciate it.
bill signing.
Pretty cool. Congratulations.
Okay. Because it's, okay.